Welcome to Everyone Has a Voice at our local library. A special thanks to Director Paul Engel for supporting the art of poetry and giving us this space. I'm Hope Fernandez, an educator, educational administrator, more importantly, a poet. Today, I'm also your queen of ceremonies as well as a feature. Our order of events will be open mic, followed by the two features. So first up, without delay, Mark Haggerty.
Okay, this poem is called "And Squirrel Tales."
Yes.
They are heard in wood and wild, often twixt parent and child. Many different dearest tales, those from mouth and squirrel tales. They dance within the memory, things we've heard and those we see, of those on land and of ships that sail, and of course the squirrel tales. Some are written, some handed down, some bring a laugh like circus clown, told among us down the trails, the many tales and squirrel tales.
Thank you. And thank you for the squirrel poem. Up next, Amy Woodward.
This isn't really a poem, but it's been trying to become one, so indulge me. It's called Rant, Pet Peeves. One of the many privileges of living as a middle-class citizen of a developed country is that you get to have pet peeves. While bombs fall elsewhere and disasters, persecution, poverty, war, and disease reduce daily life for many other people to an existential struggle, we get to make pets of our little distastes and aversions. We coddle them like naughty lapdogs, cherish them as the identity markers they are, parading them in comic monologues and bonding with others whose peeves match ours. You're probably realizing about now that I'm going to treat you to a list of mine. Looking back, I see that they've evolved over the years. Way back when I was a young girl, of the age a certain kind of man likes to prey upon, the thing I dreaded the most in the world was strange men chatting me up on public transportation. I didn't have the nerve or the vocabulary back then to tell them off in terms sharp enough to puncture their smug self-regard, and they were impossible to discourage by any means within my school. So I huddled miserably and kept my nose in my book. My obvious misery not only didn't deter them, I now realize it was their reward, the point of the whole game. But just as I grew out of the target age range, my tongue grew into its power and acquired a keen, cutting edge. Problem solved. Thanks, time. Then came the years when the list of things that made me crazy started with TVs and waiting rooms. But lately I noticed that they had mostly disappeared. Apparently the waiting room gods noticed that everyone brings their own screen with them now. So thanks smartphones for one good thing. When I was a teacher, my chief irritant was the top-down mandates that turned me from a partner in the creative project of growing adolescent minds into a full-time test prep coach. Retirement relieved that problem, at least for me, so thanks again, time. But even in the Eden of retirement, irritations persist. So here are my pet peeves at age 70. Excessive packaging. Why does a tiny bottle of tiny pills need to hide inside a cubic foot of paperboard? Why does a small pastry need to nestle in an enormous plastic clam? Next, you can miss me with anything generated by AI or offering a hot take on the subject of AI. Ditto for crypto. Also, lawyers on billboards with their big hungry grins. Why are they salivating at the idea that I might have suffered an injury? Shame on medical professionals who treat women patients as incompetent witnesses and unreliable narrators of their own medical history and symptoms, and assume all older patients are imbeciles. Shame on billionaires who have amassed obscene wealth through inheritance and government handouts to their businesses and can't think of anything better to do with it than to buy politicians who will enable them to continue to amass even more obscene wealth, while sending the bill to the people who, unlike those billionaires, pay taxes. Shame on all who profess a religion and pride themselves on their knowledge and observance of all the rules in their sacred texts. The sillier and more arcane, the better, but are utterly deaf to those texts' essential wisdom. And you who use religion as a cloak for agendas antithetical to their faith's most profound values. No doubt someday when I'm long gone, the inexorable march of time and entropy will come for all these abominations. Teachers and learners will be free. We will reclaim our sovereignty from the machines, and there will be no more religious hypocrisy or misogyny or greed or exploitation or waste or injustice of any kind. And the lucky beings who inhabit that glorious world of the future will just have to find new pets.
I apologize, the feedback is worse on this side, so if you move over here, for some reason it's not nearly as bad. Anyway, thank you, Amy. Up next is Craig Frederickson.
Craig Fredericks from Easton, only class 76, friends call me Craig. Couple summer poems, these are real short. Daffodils died down, so it's like now, the stalks are died, and the leaves are still there, but you know, the flowers are gone, all the flowers are gone. And the sun is in the evening sky, you kind of have to hold your head up, when your hand up when you drive it. It really is, because of the arc, right in your line of sight, for longer than it is in the winter. So you got daffodils died down, sun in the evening sky, baby bunny there this morning. You know they're called bunnies because they actually look like dinner buns? They used to, when they're very small, if you look at them, a lot of times there's 4 of them, and they look exactly like dinner buns. That's where the bunnies first came. So you got daffodils died down, sun in the evening sky, baby bunny there this morning, then this evening, firefly. There you go, that one's done. Okay. Feet in the water of a world all ours, except it now seems the dark and the dark. Very good. Now, I have to squeeze in one more because this one's got squirrels in it. When writing is like fighting wildcats. This is in that book that was passing over. Well, when writing is like fighting wildcats, breeding air trees, green grass, and mud, and when I'm feeding squirrels, I believe I know that's when my poems are crud. So, I've been trying not to write about squirrels so much. So more chickadee, chickadee, chickadee-dee-dee, and dove sounds. Coo, coo, coo. Thank you very much.
Squirrels. Can't escape them. And up next, we have Jessica Bowden.
Okay. I have far more than other people have had. And like everything I've ever written, it is constantly in workshop phase, so bear with me. This first one is called Hands. Into ours you give the greatest gift you've ever received, entrusting us to mold their eager minds, watching, touching, tasting the world. Trying to make sense of every new piece of every new day, each step they take a reflection of us all. Their small hands reaching out to ours for safety, for assurance, unaware that within their grasp we find the map back to wonder. Lasting connections made through play and paint and laughter and love, and the understanding that in our hands they are also the greatest gifts we've ever received. Okay, these are in no particular order. It just kind of goes all over the place. This next one is called Where I Hoped You'd Be. It's strange to think you've been a part of me for over half my life. For years I carved a space for you to fill with love, both creating and patching over cracks, over time. That space you used, like a timeshare, fell into disrepair, into despair. Dark and despondent, your space waited, 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 until love, subtly growing, consumed that space that was yours. Independent love, an inward bloom, so strong that the locks were changed when you asked to come back in. Okay, I have a few more. Sorry, that just like threw me off so much. one's called The Runner. She runs to smell the newly cut grass, over which the robin soars and breathes new life into her soul. She runs to enjoy the sun's embrace, extending its warmth to all who dance in its love. She runs to feel the crunch of leaves beneath her feet that remind her of childhood thrills. She runs to observe the frozen beauty from which so many hide. The crystallizing world offers a frozen respite, if only for fleeting moments. She runs to forget the morning she almost couldn't get out of bed, to exhaust the voice stuck on repeat that yells, "You're never enough." She runs to quiet the noise inside her head that is an endless loop, or an endless chaotic loop of everything all at once. The resolute pavement, the focus on breath, as adrenaline and endorphins work as one to quell the daily storm. She runs, and for a while, it is enough. And I realized I mispronounced respite. As I was saying, I was like, okay. So this one is Hands Reprised. So the first one was inspired by when I worked with preschoolers and now I work with high schoolers. Hands Reprised. No longer to hold, but to use to push and encourage, to let go. We walk among them, but just outside the line they draw around themselves. Reaching anyway, hoping something sticks across the gap they've created. Writing their essays in side-eye formation, refusing to retain anything about MLA. And we refusing to retain the chorus of "we already know how to do this" when reteaching format. No longer expressing love through play and paint, but through late-night grading, temple rubbing, exasperation, and hope in red pen. Hands that no longer hold, still shape, still offer, still guide them through frustration and shutting down and indifference and slumped in the seat and eye rolls and "I hate this class and this is dumb anyway." Hands that still reach, that tremble but do not retreat, that listen when no one else does. Hands that remember to wait for those glimmers and half smiles and maybes and "oh hey, I'll try," and growing and cracking open and connecting, and thank you for believing in me. Okay. So 2 more. This one, I'm just going to preface, I sent this to my mom after I wrote it, and she said, "Oh, like, what was the inspiration for this?" And I said, this exact experience. So this one's called My Name. In that scarlet dress, waiting to meet my friends who arrived on the next street, approached by you with arms open wide, declaring, "Lady in red, I want your beauty by my side." As you waited on thick, I asked you to leave. "What is your name?" I yearned for a brief. I declined to respond, so you urged all the same. "Lady in red, I must know your name." You, smoothless operator who tested my patience, were finally escorted away by your friendly relations. But to my surprise, you had my name in your head. With a last glance back, you confidently said, "Bitch." And this one I do want to just preface based on feedback I've gotten. This one is about my connection in yoga, not any other relationship. Okay, this one's called Eternal Becoming. As I connect my breath with yours, the vibrations between us resonate. Your energy entices mine to slow down, to reach deeper inside myself and bloom. Into your consciousness, I ground my intention, releasing control if only for this moment. I am an exalted warrior, grateful for the fortitude you impart. You pull strength from places I forgot existed. As we flow together, twin goddesses against systemic toxicity, I feel the long-forgotten power reemerge. I am intertwined with you. I am rooted, I am serene, I am unwavering with resolve. Into this harmonious partnership, I give thanks for your provisions and a promise to radiate your eternal becoming.
Thank you, Jessica. Up next, Brockton's poet laureate and our next feature, Philippa Source.
Welcome everyone to Everyone Has a Voice. I am thrilled to be the opening act for Hope Fernandez. Can't wait to hear her poetry. So 4 years ago, I was asked to write a poem about Brockton to be considered for Poet Laureate. And this is the poem I've written for that. And it worked. I am a Brockton boy, proud of my city streets, born to immigrant parents who sought a better life. I was raised in the bosom of the city, Walnut Street, Ash Street, Kensington Place, Park Road. I journeyed from infant to child, youth, teen, young man, and now adult. I am a Brockton boy educated by the streets, playgrounds, and schools, aware that my city took in all ethnicities, nations uniting and sharing customs and the dignity of heritage. I know how to swear in 10 languages. I know the taste of diverse cuisines. I've had my heart and spirit crushed, then raised up to feel the blessing of forgiveness. I felt the city experience adversity, and with a 1-2 punch and uppercut, come off the ropes and beat back misfortune. Champions rising time and time again. This city will not be counted out. I'm a Brockton boy, married, uniting 2 cultures, raising 2 daughters, fulfilling a promise to our ancestors to pass along my respect for a city that shaped my values, how to be human, how to feel, how to pay it forward. My daughters are now teachers, caring for and sculpting our children's future. I'm a Brockton boy, blessed and raised in a city built on hard work, a city of honor, a city like no other, welcoming with open hearts and firm hands. The brick and mortar of this city, lined along the streets by calloused hands that laid a foundation of stories passed down from generation to generation. A city tough as leather, reshaped with the toil of sweat and tears of determination, the soul uncompromised, a city that puts one foot in front of the other. This city, resilient, has given me the life experience to shout out loud, I am a proud Brockton man. Your boy has grown up. So for the rest of my presentation, I'll be doing sets of 2 poems. And if you could hold off the applause to the end, if you feel I deserve it, I'm all for it. I'm all ready for it. So the first 2, I'm going to be dealing with relationships. Bed. The rectangled bed. Corner right settles, sitting too many nights up at 3, waiting for 6. I watched you. Counted the times you twitched your nose, 46. Remember the night you jumped up out of skin, screaming, I don't know who you are. Eyes wide with fear, this sense of urgency trying to escape. In a moment of split time, turning nonchalant, closing window on December chill. The middle slumped where 2 became 1. The nights we spent alone on the other side of each other, facing back to back. Words, words and words, never spoken. Conversations lost to an empty darkness where all the stars we wished upon were never enough. Secrets that we shared, giggles that caught us in embrace, passion through us. As springs belt out songs, we joined in chorus as summer rain falls around us. Tap, tap, tapping, open window, we inhale. We flipped that mattress over as many times as love and hate enters and exits and voices echo, I love you. Laughter fills teary eyes while whispers of promises fade as screams slam off walls, cracked with invisible tongues, shards of regret cling on an overcast night as the pale moon subdues the blurred shadows of your dreams. I wanted to invade your mind, needed to be inside you, and I never wanted to be without you. Voices spill out, day becomes long, routines worn like a shroud withers to ashen dusk, similarities of past lives and our sameness. Close the door, turn down the light, slide window, sticks halfway, both hands push, catching shade, coils up, fluttering veil, changing faces of moonlight. Sudden quiet. Are we breathing? We turn down the bed, you on the left and I by the right, the middle slumped. And once in a while, I watch, waiting. This next poem is called Life Expectancy. This was written for my wife, who basically took for granted. So this is for everybody who takes their partners, pets, children, life for granted. It's called Life Expectancy. Why did you call? I needed to hear your sound. In this moment of my existence, I sought familiarity. In this mind maze, ebb and flow of past, future, I desired your presence. If you blow into the trunk of an elephant, it will never forget your scent. In this intimate interaction, karma is forever joined, and when one passes, the other will grieve, trumpeting sorrow. Life expectancy of an elephant, 70 years. How long has it been since I told you? A few weeks, a couple of months? A blank stare and our lives splinter, melt, spill into cracks. Listen to voices inside, discard them at the push-pull of time. We hesitate, our truth falling, our words strained against empty air, and I've been meaning to tell you, I remember, our eyes holding secrets. We rush off, brush against each other, our lips flat. These predictable kisses, these monotone promises. I love you. Love you too. Now we dance like ghosts. In our separate ways, we came together. In our time together, we went our separate 8 ways. Push against empty air. Pygmy goby fish are born, struggle to survive, mature, mate, lay their eggs, defend their young, and die. A full life fulfilled. Life expectancy of pygmy goby fish. A few weeks, couple of months. What are you thinking? Nothing. Wait, that's not true. Why do candy bars always look bigger in vending machines? Behind the glass, we anticipate, eyes magnified, we pursue, stop at each slotted prize, consider, yank on lever, wait for tumble, wrap hands around. J.G.H. Moore wrote, our walls were up, and we knew it. David R. Surratt wrote, never miss anything, ever. So, where are we in between these lines, these walls of never miss, these pencil scratches that score our human frailty? Life expectancy of human frailty, unknown. Are you there? So the next 2 poems deal with my social comment. The first one is called Keeper of the Quiet. The child rocked back and forth, silence only solace. A different life lives within where a child remains a child. Keeper of the quiet, what secrets do you hold? Do you reach out your hand or keep it clenched? Colors that eyes focus on, black and blue, do you wish? Are you allowed? A proud man walks down the street. The color of his skin is not allowed. Doesn't matter that blood runs red, sticks break kindred bones, stones bruise tender flesh, voices cut, humanity bleeds. Keeper, what secrets? Choosing colors, the joy it brings. Why does the skin bring such hate? You question, but no answers avail. You reason, but are still not allowed. You move on, always looking back, for fear is the color that we face. A child lays in bed. Darkness cannot hide. Blankets slowly pull away. Silence, tears slide down. Light cracks beyond, no escape. Keeper, what hold? Where do you go when the invasion begins? Do you reach for tomorrow's? Has that been violated? Do you pull on your heart to survive, hoping that too has not been stolen? A woman runs nowhere, trying to escape life's nightmare. Vows broken, no time of day is safe. Invisible change, shackled minds, choices removed, hopelessness invoked. What secrets in the quiet? Guilt impales your wisdom. Hope replaces insanity. Laughter disguises your pain. Silence takes your hand on a journey of deceit. Somewhere, bombs are falling and hatred smiles. A man beaten for his beliefs. People eating discarded waste. Baby sucks on a mother's dry breast. A child sells his body, no longer his own. A name lost from memories. And Mother Earth falls to knees, gathers silent tears. My children, what secrets do you keep? How do you keep your secrets in the quiet? The next poem is called News from Venus. Barrels burn 10:08. Warm hands rub. Lungs inhale mixture of smoke and air. Words fly in from the planet Venus. They stand there, 2, 3, 6, 8 at a time. Some dance for position, some jockey, some just lay down and die. They all have names: bum, jerk, useless. They all have problems: food, money, shelter. Sound familiar? Everything but the planet Venus. Do they speak English? Cats wail and dogs howl, muted cries. Get a job, get a life, get out of here. Here. Can you hear what you don't see? Steam that rises out of the dead night you walk through, head down, hands in pocket, you don't see. Oh, say, can you see? Someone brings food for the barrels, news from Venus. Concrete floor shows no mercy. Coldness of the night has no forgiveness. Empty stomach shows no age limit. Someone lays down, someone lies down, someone's put down. 108, 10:08 Pacific time. It's deja vu. Faces blend together until they all look the same, aged beyond their years. Baby suckles on mother's breast, abandoned car, backseat shelter, voices crowd for penny change, street light stars, weep amber tears, half a cigarette pass, guarding carriage full bounties of the day. Bottles, cans, last week's TV guide. pushing their world as wheels wobble. Look sharp, look down, slide to the side. Madness roams on tethered souls. There is no news from Venus. A line forms behind the big oak for the bathroom. Toilet paper, optional, modesty forgives. Someone carves for a good time. Call 911. Life's blood seeps into blacktop quicksand. No one seems to notice. No one seems to care. Night barrels burn, sending smoke signals to the planet Venus. Send help. Send help. Send help. Anybody in the mood for a little romance? Romantic poems? Two romantic poems. This first one's called Portals of Dusted Pages. I read to you in whispers. As you lean against words, these portals of dusted pages evoke a craving that encircles us with images of flickering candles, a farewell breath on winter's window. Essence lingers within shadow walls. I hear Dickinson and Browning. Desire echoes connecting time passages. Here, in this moment, their voices stir emotions within me, caressing the night on silken tapestry. I give you a heart, a red flow on yellow parchment. Blood beats quicken, Byron, Gibran, pounding quiet serenity, anticipation as the softness of our breath quivers, listening for the rhythm that unites, inhaling the fragrance of elegant silence. We savor words, breathing in the air that surrounds us, grasping at bits and pieces of syllables. Keats, Sappho form round our lips. We taste offerings dipped in mother tongue, long-stemmed flutes elicit remembrance. We touch, our fingers ease unhinged, sensual rise. You are my poem, wrapped around silken threads of feather quill. The air moves like tectonic plates, faint traces wash over us. Fingers outline lips softened with your kiss. I call to you, beloved, eyes caress. Ghost lovers give courage, receive heart. My heart flows into red parchment, this craving within, between pages, a kiss, supple touch, gentle heart. We bid farewell, portals of dusted pages. This next one is called Just Breathe. We connect in unspoken ways, our thoughts aligning as if drawn from a shared space, a sense of tranquility settling between us. Our hearts resonate together, recognizing the profound link of our existence. As our lives unfold and diverge like branches reaching toward different horizons, we navigate the currents of time. We observe the passage of moments, growing wiser with each experience, our hands tracing the vastness of the peaceful sky. The subtle marks of beginnings fade as our shared spirit deepens. Through learning and growth, we gather precious moments, holding them briefly before releasing them into the expanse of our shared experiences. A gentle breeze whispers through, carrying echoes of cherished memories that fill any spaces in our hearts. These moments leave their mark, reflecting our intertwined nature. The uncertainties we once faced now echo as inner voices of awareness, stirring questions of familiarity, of having been here before. A soft whisper carried on the breeze marks the closeness of evening, tinged with the poignant scent of farewell. My hand extends, finding yours, and in that mutual grasp, we communicate without words. a silent act, a shared understanding, and the simple act of breathing together. In this moment, no words are needed, just breathe. And the next two poems deal with, if anybody's ever been a caregiver or lost somebody who's grieving. So these two poems reflect that. First poem is called Walking into Walls. In the middle of the night, I felt you leave. The hollow tick of the clock seemed to amplify the silence. It was just me crying. It was just you closing the door. The morning outside felt somber, devoid of color. An empty quiet seemed to penetrate me. I felt like I was walking aimlessly, stumbling and struggling to understand. It was just me walking into walls, trying to find my way. I felt the mirrored ache of reflective sorrow. Cold reality splashes my face. Numb actuality awakens tears. It was just me. One day, then another. One foot in front of the other. I watched the wind take you away out of the currents of my heart. And now this empty ache, the Valentine heart replaced. And now this empty ache, my thoughts reaching to the times we held tight. Fingers dig, fighting for every inch, not wanting to let go. What I didn't realize, these were the last passionate kisses. I didn't count the years, only moments life granted us, but that I took for granted. The tears, laughter, stillness now parted. It feels like a flame has been extinguished, leaving behind a hardened residue. It was just me daydreaming of you. It was just me awake under sunlight of an enclosed room. And I am walking into walls, trying to find my way, stumbling into the unknown, graceless. So this next poem is called James Brown Preachers. And I was a caregiver for my wife. And one night, I put her to bed and went to the kitchen to do the dishes and the household stuff. And I had my old-fashioned iPod, I had it on. And James Brown just came over the iPod, and this is the poem that came out of that. James Brown preaches, this is a man's world. I'm hunched over the stainless steel sink, scraping the last dried up reminder of nothingness to a dull finish. The table, set for two. One chair now always half empty. The candles float the dim light in my steps that carve a path between the stove, refrigerator, and where. The door that stands open, that nobody enters or exits in this misshapen space. James Brown cries how it would be nothing without a woman or a girl, and I breathe the empty air of the room. Now with shades drawn close and hold on to shards of you, souvenirs that slice time into pieces, fragmenting into echoes of tick-tock, leaving anchored memories. And James Brown shouts, man made the electric light to take us out of the dark, yet all my thoughts that used to be crisp, taut, and edge now drag formlessly on into days without seasons, propelled by metronome heartbeats that have no yesterdays, no tomorrow, and no today. And James Brown's voice pours out, man made the train to carry the heavy load. And my knees buckle under the strain. Fists fly out of control, trying to relieve this burden of pain. The screams of silence now shatter the emptiness. My heart pounds and pounds. Release me. In this moment, I just want it to stop. James Brown's voice wails, man made the boat for the water like Noah made the ark. And yet, I'm drowning in my sorrow. I can hardly breathe. I feel you in my grasp, my fingertips that once held you close, now falter. And I am caught in the whirlpool, descending into chaos, and your light fades. And James Brown's voice spills out, he's lost in the wilderness, and the staccato pounding of the horn lays a path along my breathtaking cliff. As the choir rests on the last beat, the bass thumps the scene one last time, and James Brown asks, is it all right if I scream? So these next two poems are about my trip to my father's birthplace. Little island called Sifnos. It's like 4,000 miles from here. It's a little village. His village is called Castro, which is the castle, and it sits up way up on a hill. And in the 16th century, pirates would come and climb the walls and try to pillage the village. And so they closed all the walls, and that's why it was called the castle. So one of the things about Castro is it sits up high on the hill, and the beach is way down here. So in order to get to the beach, you have to climb down and up 104 stairs. Now the stairs are not the regular stairs we know, they're like 3 feet wide and 3 feet long. So you're taking like 4 or 5 steps for every stair. So this is the poem I wrote for that. And Hope was talking about her ancestors. And these next two poems, I believe, really came from they wrote it. I just was there to write it down. 104 stairs to Sarada. That's the name of the beach. The steps that lead you down to your origin. The carved remains of footprints etched by each generation. Pebbles and stones protrude out of necessity. Cracks exposed from nature's age. Weather-beaten, a reflection of our humanity. Echoes arise, we are here. Let us guide you to the water, where each tumbling wave laps the shore. The white foam releases its energy, tides changing with the faces of moon. Dawn awakens, casting off its night skin. Air's grayness mingles in the self-belief of origin. The age of the stone sheds its wisdom, unfolding our stories of triumphs, lamenting our sorrow of misfortunes, and stronger together we became family. The stone steps that lead upward, the curvature of the climb, the legs of the journey heavy. The heart beats and beats as you push on for skyward. The blue mirrors the origin of the blue water, and the calmness wraps around you. Ancestors that brought you here to this place in this moment swallows you in blankets of clouds. Dreams form as hands cup moments. You are released in the essence of the body. Waiting arms hold, lie across family earth, drawing breath. bathe in the balance of life. So this next poem is definitely from my ancestors, and it's a warning that I believe they're giving us. So the village, Castro, was built in the 13th century, and basically the bones of the village are the same. Yes, they have electricity and running water and all that good stuff. But you drive up to the village, and you get out of the outside of the village, and you have to walk into the village. And it's like, you know, it was in the 13th century. Nothing's really changed. So during the day, I would be walking through the village, doing my stuff. And at night, I'd go back to the house I was staying at, get on the laptop, and I was back in the 21st century. It was really confusing. I mean, it was a conundrum. So one night, you know, I started writing. And as I said, I think it was my ancestors guiding my hand. Just gonna take a little drink. And this is called Ancient Ruins. A day is but a moment among ruins. Ever-changing years seem to weave a seamless continuum of unbroken time over ancient broken sites. Yet, why does the earth spin on its axis along the same sunny path? Why does this globe carry all our pieces in a closed loop? Sky blue and sky white mirror the sea, draw us into reflection, seducing us to delve into deep, separate oceans to seek origin. But when do we truly look at each other as specimens of the species human? Are we evolving or are we devolving? We have our salvation and the seeds of our destruction growing within us, evolution and de-evolution at once. Scholars remind us to learn from our past or be condemned to repeat it. What have we learned of science, mathematics, religion, philosophy, and greed? Who gave us opposable thumbs to crush the future? Who gave us tools to create? Oh my God, what have we given rise to? We call ourselves compassionate, humane, and intelligent. As nations lay bleeding between fingers, too tiny to hold the future. Why do so many hands squeeze out innocence in the name of what deity? Why do we seek sanctuary in the time of suffering? Seek safe passage, refuge, and haven, but harbor leaders who turn eyes blind or away. Does Mother Earth feel her garden grow barren as her marrow is sucked out, while the crimes against humanity regenerates like an infectious cancer? We cry out, Anna, at those who do us injustice. We snivel round mouthfuls of burned fat and guzzled spirits as we dread the cries of the silence that speaks to us. Alms, alms, alms for the poor. In the spiritual, the vast cosmos of infinity, just where are we on the evolutionary scale? We wonder at ancient sites and marvel at what was, and I ask you, what do such acts foretell? Will there be anything to wonder about us? I wonder today among the ruins. Two more poems. This is called Critical Recognition. This is a reawakening poem. This happened to me. My wife had just passed away, and it was a few days later, and I was sitting in her chair, just watching TV, because anybody's gone through grief or anything like that, you don't really watching TV, you're just hearing the hum and the buzz of the TV. So my cat liked to sleep under the TV because of the warmth from the screen. And anybody have a cat, right? So when a cat wakes up, what does it do? This long stretch, right? So I was just sitting there, and all of a sudden my cat woke up and did this long stretch. And this is the poem that came out of that. As I said, it's more of a reawakening poem. Critical recognition. I am the cat stretching, the bear emerging from hibernation, the snake shedding its skin, slowly, deliberately. I am the changing seasons, sleepy winter ushering the warm tears of spring, the summer solstice elongating, sun radiant in its still illumination of earth. The sun and moon share the sky, mirroring my reflections of phasing light. I am the salmon swimming back to origin, the bird homing to womb of nest, migrating, circling back to familiarity past the danger. The emperor penguin, exhausted, forever in its perilous passage, generations connected before and after. I am the constant ripple of a single drop of water. Earth, water, air releases its memories. I call out to you critical recognition. I am the baby stirring, the child awakening, adolescent developing, adult enlightened, the mature that exists, has existed, and will exist. I am a very small drop in the liquid universe. I am the embryo of a new day. And this poem is called Being, and I always end with this poem. I think if anybody's written this, a poem just kind of comes to you, you write it down. So this is the poem that I wrote and never changed a word. It still stands today as it was written back when I wrote it. And it's called Being. Do not leave me. I am one pebble in the sand. You are the water that slides over me. We are together in the moment. We are the connected element of being. The earth receives me. Water recalls. The air releases. You are with me in thought. You are with me in being. I am alone. But not today. I touch you. You are flesh. I kiss you. We are wet. I lose you. I lose me. Temperate wings lift off. Temperate wings lift you through the pure white, reuniting you with the elements of the universe, becoming infinite being. My heartbeat slows In hushed serenity, I feel the delicateness in this simplistic movement of crime, immersed in keepsake shadows. My arms flow through the still air, catching memories. I cup my hands and drink you in, thirst no longer. I am the droplet in ocean. You are now the sky blue that watches over me. Reflections, light and air dancing. I close my eyes, dreaming. We are together in this moment. We are the connected element of being. I am the tree rooted in life's spirits. You are the leaves of my branches. Spring, summer, fall. I fall into winter's abyss. I am alone. Sweet sound of birds fade. I lie distant as tears of silence blanket my eyes' emptiness, my companion. The earth receives. Water recalls. Air releases. You are with me. We are together. I am alone. But not today. So it is my great honor and privilege to welcome our feature. She is the queen of ceremonies for Everyone Has a Voice. She has been the angel that the Brockton Library needed. So Hope Fernandez has been an educator for 31 years. She has taught, led, administered, and championed students from grades 7 to 12 in public, private, and parochial, virtual, and charter schools, and now Zoom. She is a strong advocate for equity, inclusion, social justice, and special education. She founded the first secondary school poetry slam team on the South Shore and has coached multiple Poetry Out Loud regional, state, and national champions. She began writing at a very young age, as her mother always had a poem for every life event. Her first published poem was in the Silver Spectrum in high school, and she later became editor of her college poetry magazine, The Tree Well. She has a bachelor's degree in English with a focus on African American literature, a master's degree in curriculum and instruction, and a CAGS in educational administration. Wondering what I'm going to do when I grow up. Please welcome Hope Fernandez. Okay, welcome. Welcome to Everyone Has a Voice. We are thrilled to have Hope Fernandez, the queen and host of Everyone Has a Voice, as our featured poet today. We're all very much looking forward to hearing your poetry. But before we begin, I'd love to ask you a few questions to share your experiences and insights about becoming a poet with our audience. Okay, question number one. Could you describe an early experience that made you realize the power of language?
The power of language. Well, I mean, I'm first generation and second generation American, and my parents spoke Cape Verdean Creole, so the ability to switch between languages was always important. But as far as poetry, my mother had a poem for every life situation and was constantly reciting a line or a poem, or if I was bored, it was, he who has a book is a king indeed, his kingdom is a golden nook, all this to he who has a book. And it gave me inspiration to investigate more poetry. Like I said, she didn't write it, but she had all these poems in her head and for every life situation. And that by itself is a power of language.
Okay. So, how long did it take you to feel ready to start sharing your poetry with others?
That's a good question. I'm not even sure I'm comfortable sharing my poetry with others, but I'm just doing it. As early as middle school, my English teacher recognized some of my poetry and would have me read it to the class to my horror. And then in high school, I had my first published poem. And I still wrote in journals and kept it a secret. It wasn't until I met Dr. Donald Major, my creative writing teacher in undergrad, who I'm still in touch with. And he himself had a master's degree in creative writing and wanted me to get a master's degree in creative writing, that I became comfortable sharing the poems. But it was through a lot of other people pushing up anything that I was comfortable with ever.
Okay. So, leading up to that, in what ways do you feel your writing has evolved over the years?
I think as you grow, you get more mature and you look at things differently, because in the beginning it was all about me and my little bubble of the world. And now I'm looking at politics and I'm looking at the world and I'm looking at my students and being a voice for those things that I'm experiencing.
So, in relation to your writing, what are some of the key influences that inspire you as an individual?
Like I said, politics is one of it, but that's fairly new. My mother there's quite a few poems about her, what she gave me, what she inspired me to do, and what I carry with her. And in fact, today I have a poem,
Oh, nice.
inspired by her.
Can't wait to hear it. Do you see the act of writing as a kind of spiritual practice?
Absolutely. I always say the ancestors speak for me, because things that are not necessarily in my conscious come through writing. And I feel like there's some energies that speaks through me and wants others to consider and think about the things that I write.
Okay. So, for the last question, what question would you wish an interviewer would ask you?
How many times have I asked someone this question and never considered the answer? Just what keeps you going, and it's other people. What keeps me writing is you. I don't, like, we reconnected after many years. You were an inspiration, and I don't even think you knew the darkest time when my parents passed away and I was barely existing, because they passed away 9 days apart. And we were at a poetry reading and you said, "You got the fever." And I allowed myself to write from that one comment. You don't know where inspiration comes, so just keep at it, hold on to it, keep writing.
So, we can't wait to hear your poetry, and thank you for being the host of Everyone Has a Voice.
It's been my pleasure.
And we are looking forward, although this is the last one for the year, we are looking forward to 2025, 2026.
As am I.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, so all my poems are in a building. I had planned to read poems that I have written over time, and even Rose has a sense of humor. So everything you're about to hear today, except for a couple that my good friend he just emailed me, was written this week. So they are what they are, and I know we don't like that, but we're going with it today. I have a Facebook friend who's a poet, and he often writes satire and poems, and he wrote a nightmare that he awoken from this week, and that gave me inspiration to write this poem called Night Terror, America. I came to, skin damp with panic, lungs clawing at the air like trapped birds, eyes peeled wide as peeled grapes on a butcher's bowl. From the dream, he rose again, a paper king stitched from headlines and howling sound bites, a man shaped pestilent of cameras and lies. His face a mask pulled tight over greed, smirk twitching beneath gold-plated rot. They call him leader. His carnival barker with blood on his cuffs and ratings in his eyes. He swaggers through history like a drunk in a museum, finger painting policy with blood of children ripped from their mother's arms. Little shoes still warm, still soft. He spoke in craters and slogans, sentences that limped and collapsed like wounded animals, each one a tribute to the gods of ignorance. Around him, yes men with matchstick minds, tongues dipped in honey and arsenic, whose loyalty could be bought for the cost of a podium and a spotlight. He hugged flags like a lover, but you could see it, how the stars winced beneath his grip, how the stripes curled like burning cloth. He toasted bleach while bodies stacked in freezers. He cradled his stock reports like swaddled babies and let the Constitution bleach in the sun and used napkins on his gold-plated desk. The dream ended with confetti made of shredded ballots, cheers echoing from toothless mouths, and him, again, smiling, that reptile smile as the world leaned in to swallow its own scream. I woke, tasting ash and terror, fingers curled like claws, the nightmare, still president, again. And then we'll switch gears because my friends told me that I shouldn't read the next poem without a little bit of a pause, so Amy, this is for you. 2 poems. I'm reading from my phone, so I texted to myself. So this first one was written by one of my seniors who's no longer at my school. He was too much of a wildflower boy, but I am proud that he will earn his high school diploma at another school, and his graduation is June 2nd. So it's titled Wildflower Boy. He is sugar stirred into tea too fast, swirling in currents he cannot see. A marionette with strings pulled by winds that even the sky doesn't understand. In his seat, he is a river refusing its banks, legs jittering like leaves caught in a storm, fingers drumming rhythms that have no melody, only motion. Rules slip off him like water over stone, briefly resting before rushing away. Don't touch that becomes a whispered dare. Sit still, a tether that snaps the moment it's tied. His anger flares like struck flint, bright, sharp, and startling. But it burns out as quickly, leaving behind the warm embers of a hug. His arms tight as vines around your waist. He says, sorry, with eyes wide as spring skies, a sincerity so unpracticed it aches. Each word, a fragile petal falling from his lips, soft and trembling. He's a wildflower and whirlwind, a creature of restless roots, growing in all directions, breaking the soil where you least expect. You want to bottle him up and hold the sweet nectar of his kindness, but he's a boy made of motion, a sunbeam that refuses the shadow of stillness. And through his chaos, though his chaos tests your patience, you find yourself waiting for his next laugh, his next crooked grin, the next time he throws himself at your side, apologizing as if he's the only one broken. Now I miss him. That's to Jameer. This next poem Amy specifically asked for. I was sitting in a cafeteria with teachers, and a woman said that I needed to try this new packaged item, and it inspired this poem. The rebranding of prunes. Once wrinkled fruit, a dowager's treat, prunes sat solemn in a plastic suite, medicine for clocks that ran too slow. Their purpose plain, their glamour low. But enter the stage, the marketers flare, dried plums they whisper, with elegance rare. Not a prune, no, a morsel of charm. A hint of the orchard, the sun's warm arm. Behold the packaging, sleek and new, purple and gold with a premium hue. No longer for elders in rocking pose, but for yoga mat wielders and runners in pose. Taste the irony in the wrapper's gleam, how names can shift like a clever dream. Pruned by another name, sweet as before, but sold as a plum is wanted more. Forgotten are jokes that once drew disdain, prunes the punchliner, digestive refrain. Now they're a superfood trending with clout, their ancient name politely left out. Oh, how the label deceives the mind that once was shunned, we now call refined. In the world of humans, truth's a disguise. A plum reborn can mesmerize. So ponder this plum once cast aside, resurrected by spin, a phoenix of pride. And think how we in the humdrum scroll are fooled by the new, the age-old role. I'm getting a lot of text, though. So I don't like to stick to the negative, so I have to take a nightmare and I have to flip it. So this poem is titled, When the Dream Turns Towards Morning. In the dream that does not burn, there's no golden idol, made of bankrupt promises and reality shows static, no bloated oracle of ego, no smirk carved from the soft fat of empire. Instead, a gathering of voices, each one shaped by truth, not fame. A president walks without fanfare, hands ink-stained from reading, palms open, never clenched. The flags flutter in sunlight, not seized like prey by grasping hands, but honored, stitched by memory and mercy, uncreased by propaganda. Children laugh in the open. Their names are sung, not numbered. Their limbs are wrapped in blankets, not fences. The lullabies come from their mothers' mouths, not from the hum of fluorescent light in detention camps. The sky is clean of lies, does not echo the bark of slogans. No walls rise here, only trellises for growing things, language, justice, the fragile vine of hope. Books sit open on park benches and kitchen tables, leafed through by curious and the kind, their spines unbroken, their pages unfeared. In this place, sycophants do not rise. The flames they once fed have cooled, replaced by the warmth of conversation, the quiet crackle of consensus. No bleach drunk here, no plague to politicize. The sick are not left to die, so the stock ticker can sigh with relief. Grief is not monetized. It is met with arms outstretched. Nazis rot in textbooks. The Confederacy is composted. Its statues melt down and recast into garden tools and door hinges for shelves. The Constitution is read aloud like a prayer by people with different accents, none of them slurred by power. It is not waved like a weapon nor wiped away by a hand too filthy to know reverence. And I, not sweating, not grasping, not walking in terror, walk barefoot across the field where the grass bends but does not break. And this next poem, The Space Between Their Steps. I teach seniors, so if you've ever been an educator, you know seniors are somewhere else. You only have them from September to maybe Christmas, and once the new year comes, they become something. So this is Ode to Seniors. The space between their steps. They float, laughter ringing down the hallways like coins tossed, just for the sound of them hitting the floor. Shoulders loose with a kind of weightlessness that only comes before the world has asked anything too hard. Caps half-cocked, hoodies unzipped like open invitations to fate. Their phones glow with dreams, sharp as diamonds and just as hard to catch. They dance in doorways, mouths half full of beats and bravado, eyes glazed not from fatigue, but from staring too long into the sun of what ifs. One wants to wrap his way into forever, spitting verse between classes like prophecies. Another rehearses a viral routine in the reflection of vending machine glass. A prayer offered to the algorithm gods. They walk like gods, or like children who don't believe in falling. And I, 35 years beyond their mornings, watch them with a smile that begins in the chest and ends somewhere behind the eyes. I once floated too, not on lakes or, lakes, I think, not on lakes or streams or trends, but on letters from far-off cities, on the scent of new books and the thrill of getting it right the first time. I've made the speeches. I've answered the calls, both the ringing kind and the deep, dark ones that change and shape a life. Now I dream of quieter colors, sunlight warming my thighs on a terrace in Lisbon, salt on the rim of a glass in Santorini, and hush of linen curtained rooms and places where no one knows my name. I do not dream of firsts anymore. I dream of returnings, of the curl of my body into the hammock on a porch I built with my own good years, of late mornings, not rushing for productivity, but paced like jazz, still. Something in their unknowing tugs at the thread of me that still floats, still believes in the possibility of being startled by joy. I do not envy them. I see them. Feet barely touching the ground, ears deaf to caution, mouths full of the future. They are the beginning. I am the middle that has finally learned how to rest. And because I always write a poem that reminds me of something my mother did or taught me, so this is Flower Summoner. It started with a tip, tucked between my mother's laughter and a coffee mug. Just toss wildflower seeds, let the chaos bloom. So I did. I scatter a possibility across bare soil, a careless spell cast with dusty fingers. Now look at this riot. A kaleidoscope flung open in the yard, poppies, cornflowers, black-eyed Susans elbowing one another for sun. Petals flaring like tiny flags at a parade. No one scheduled, but everyone showed up. The bees came first, drunk on the early sugar, buzzing low and heavy like tiny bartenders mixing pollen martinis from bloom to bloom. Then the butterflies, graceful gate catchers in silk capes, and the bugs, I'm not a fan of bugs, the weird ones with iridescent colors, little punks who look like they just climbed out of a mushroom disco. I didn't know that by sowing whimsy, I'd be throwing the hottest insect rave party in the neighborhood. No invitation necessary, just wings, legs, and a taste of nectar. And while the party pulsed in the petals, my tomatoes stand straighter, like they've been inspired by all this movement. The zucchinis puff with confidence, strawberries shine like gossip. Even the aphids seem embarrassed to show their face. It's more than cute now, it's alchemy. Biodiversity humming like a low golden chord beneath the hum of wings. Some mornings I sit with a chipped mug, watching the guests float from color to color, and feel it deep, this quiet, ridiculous power. Who summoned all this joy? Who built this blooming ballroom from a handful of seeds and some mother's wisdom? That's right, me, the flower summoner, queen of the pollinators, wizard of wing beats and compost streams. And then this one I read a version of where I was feeling a little bit antiquated with my seniors, and I read it at the Educator Showcase, and as I read it, I realized that even though it was 10 years old, it was dated, so this is just a rewrite. Again, my seniors, the senior. The hallways are thick with a strange weather. The sluggish drift of bodies not quite anchored to now. Eyes glassy, limbs heavy as wet towels. A slow molting is underway, as if their skin no longer fits the desk, so the bell schedules meant to govern them. Senioritis has bloomed, not a sickness, but a seasonal shed. They shuffle like ghosts of their September selves, once bright-eyed and spines straight, now crumbling in the corners of classrooms like forgotten flyers for clubs they never joined. Their confidence has ballooned, no, inflated into something absurd and buoyant, like those cartoon giants tethered to float during parades that clog small town streets. They drift through narrow corridors, egos bumping lockers, expecting teachers to part like curtains. Memories fluid, trickling out of pockets and open binders, their phones gone, their assignments vanished, their motion evaporated somewhere between third period and the TikTok scroll turned into an hour. They raise their hands, not with answers, but with questions like, what day is it? Do I have to be here? Time no longer marches. It lounges outstretched across calendars. Their minds live elsewhere, already sunk into June, toes curled in beach sand, cups sweating in backyard grass, sunlight warming dreams not yet earned. In class, their fiction is multiplied. A semicolon is a bold artistic choice in a paragraph that was an accident. Formatting becomes postmodern rebellion because they pressed enter 7 times and called it a structure. Essays read like group chats, hastily translated into academic size. OMG, like the symbolism is insane. Fatigue spreads like a low fog. Mid-lecture, heads tilt, eyes roll back, windows being shuttered. The Peloponnesian Wars lost again, not to Spartans, but to sleep. A string of drool glistens in Chromebooks, notes abandoned mid-sentence as if ink had grown tired. They're walking wounded of the institution, not broken, but unraveled, trailing undone laces, torn pages, half-whispered plans that sound like prophecy. Just a few more weeks. Do not startle them. Approach gently, like a deer in tall grass. Any loud noises may trigger spontaneous combustion, into glitter, into tassels, into a feral joy of a freedom they almost believe they've earned. I felt badly for my seniors because at my school we had a fire. And so my seniors, their last day was via Google Meets. And that just doesn't have the same bravado of the running through the halls and the hoopla, because they were all in their pajamas and barely turning screens on, and it felt very anticlimactic. So probably why these 2 poems about them. This poem, do you want to read this one? Yes. So this weekend makes 25 years since my parents passed, this weekend coming. And I was thinking as I was sitting in my living room, wishing I was in a classroom teaching and looking around at the things that were theirs, but the things that are mine, and what I'm doing and how I'm doing it and what they would think. So this is what came out of that. What would you think 25 years after? It's spring again, the 25th one, since you both became ancestors. The world feels sideways, as if everything once sacred had been folded, refolded, and packed into a pocket we can't quite unzip. I walked through this April, half amazed, half aching, wondering what you'd say, how your voice would rise or crack at the sight of all we've become. You missed the pocket-sized televisions that now live in palms, slick rectangles that glow like altars. Remember when I came home at 7, breathless from scholastic news, believing the future would arrive in the shape of a tiny screen? You scoffed, Mom. You called it the idiot box, told me to pick up a book, to did give me that Sony Watchman at 13, silver and miraculous with the absurd Red Sox sticker from Reggie Jackson, though I never watched baseball. I did use it to watch the voices from the OJ trial and the endless tangling dramas of Days of Our Lives through high school and into dorm rooms that smelled of ramen and independence. Now I teach. Students call me Shakespeare, not for sonnets or grace, but because they can't read my cursive. Your cursive. The loops and slants you made me repeat until my fingers ached, until I could sign my name like it meant something. What would you say about the world where no one runs to answer a telephone, where ringtones are muted and conversations happen with thumbs? You were just learning email, Mom, frowning at the keyboard like it might bite. You kept your car phone in a briefcase tucked in a leather hush in your 7 series. Now everything is everywhere. Text, call, vanish. Research with a whisper, directions with a tap. No more wondering, no more waiting. Dad, you raged at the debit card. No one will save money again, he said. How would that make sense? How would you make sense of PayPal, Venmo, cryptocurrency, entire economies clipped by in invisible threads? Would you laugh? Would you mourn? And Isabel, how would she bear a Kindle? The shelves she built out of breath and belief, books stacked like prayers in every room beside the bed, spilling their spines open mid-read. What would she do with a screen that never smelled of ink, never bent under a tired thumb? And self-driving cars, the death of penmanship, the worship of speed? What would you both say about this age, where everything is immediate, everything is disposable, and silence is a language? Would you still believe in slow-cooked meals, in writing thank you notes by hand, in watching the world with both feet on the ground? I wonder. I ache. I live in your house and carry your names and the things I still do by habit. Paper books, ink pens, full stops. What would you think? What would you forgive? What would you hold like glass in your palms? I sure wish you were both here to let me know. And that's all. So, thank you for attending Everyone Has a Voice. This is our last one of the year, but we'll be back in September, and hopefully I'll still be your Queen of Ceremonies. Okay.